Hey guys, in today's video I am going to be looking at this book, which is Mr. Bean's Diary from 1993. Now, if you are from the United Kingdom, you are probably aware of the character Mr. Bean, and if you're not aware of this character, I'm not sure where you've been for about the last 30 years. Because he is incredibly well known and popular here in the UK. But I believe he is very popular in other countries as well, including America. And there were 2 feature films released featuring the character. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to move the book to the side slightly. And I'm going to bring in some information on the character, courtesy of my mobile phone. So, I have pulled up the Wikipedia page on the character of Mr. Bean, and I'm just going to read some extracts from it to let people know who Mr. Bean was and what the character was all about. So we begin. Mr. Bean is a British sitcom created by Rowan Atkinson and Richard Curtis, produced by Tiger Aspect, and starring Atkinson as the title character. The sitcom consists of 15 episodes that were co-written by Atkinson alongside Curtis and Robin Driscoll. For the pilot, it was co-written by Ben Elton, who is very well known in the UK as well. The series was originally broadcast on ITV, beginning with the pilot on the 1st of January 1990, and it ended on the 15th of December 1995. So here we have the original title card of Mr. Bean. And if you've never seen the intro to the show, it is well worth checking out on YouTube, and it is readily available on there. And here we just have some information on the show: who it was written by, directed, starring, etc. And there were only 15 episodes, which was a bit of a shock to me to find out, because I felt that there were probably more than that, but as it turns out there were only 15 episodes. And each episode, the running time was 30 minutes, and 24 to 26 of those were the actual program, with the rest being made up by advertisements. And following on from the television show, we had the feature film, which was called Bean the Ultimate Disaster Movie, which was really funny, and I enjoyed very much. So we have a bit of information here from the actor Rowan Atkinson himself, and it says, based on a character originally developed by Atkinson while he was studying for his master's degree at Oxford University. The series centres on Mr. Bean, described by Atkinson as a child in a grown man's body, as he solves various problems presented by everyday tasks and often causes disruption in the process. Wow, so that is the basic concept of the show. Mr. Bean, in each episode he would go on a new adventure, and often he would get himself into a sticky situation and come up with inventive ways of trying to solve the situation, often resulting in very funny outcomes. So here we feature film. So it says here that the title character and main protagonist is a childish buffoon. Wow, that's a very interesting way to describe Mr. Bean, but it is accurate, I suppose. And it says he lives alone at the address of Flat 2, 12 Arbour Road, Highbury, and is almost always seen in his trademark tweed jacket and a skinny red tie. He also usually wears a digital calculator watch. Mr. Bean rarely speaks, and when he does, it is generally only a few mumbled words, which are in a comically low-pitched voice. His first name, he names himself Bean to others, and profession, if any, are never mentioned. In the first film adaptation, Mr. appears on his passport in the first name field and is shown employed as a guard at the London's National Gallery. Mr. Bean often seems unaware of basic aspects of the way the world works, and the program usually features his attempts at what would normally be considered simple activities, such as going swimming, using a television set, interior decorating, or going to church. The humour largely comes from his original and often absurd solutions to problems and his total disregard for others when solving them, and his pettiness. So that is a bit of information on the character. And this is some information on his girlfriend, who was called Irma Gobb, and she only appeared in, I believe, 2 to 3 episodes. The Curse of Mr. Bean, Mr. Bean Goes to Town, and the Christmas episode as well. And here we have a picture of Mr. Bean with his faithful companion known as Teddy. So he really was a man with a childlike mind. And of course, the Mini, which was a trademark of the show, which he travelled around in, this really small yellow and black Mini, which you would often see him zooming around town in, which was very funny. Anyway guys, I think that will do for the information side of this video, of the character of Mr. Bean and what he was all about. So I will just put my phone to the side and bring the book in to shot. Okay, and let's have a look at what we have inside. This is the front cover. As you can see, it says Mr. Bean's Diary from 1993. And really, I believe that around this time was the height of the show's popularity, which is when this was released. And I have had this book ever since childhood, so it isn't in perfect condition. And on the inside we have a note from Mr. Bean himself, which says, "Hello. If I have been silly enough to mislay this diary, please return it to," and then it has his address here in London. A £5 reward would certainly not be out of the question, but knowing Mr. Bean, he would look for a way to avoid paying the £5 reward should somebody return his diary. And as you can see from the first page here, this was a Highbury District Council diary which Mr. Bean turned into his own personal diary. And here we have some members of the Highbury District Council, and Mr. Bean has doodled some faces on them, which is very in keeping with his childish character. So we have one guy here with moo coming out of his mouth, and another here with a knife or a dagger going through his head. This is very typical of Mr. Bean. And here we have a Polaroid of Mr. Bean, Christmas 1992, and this is when he supposedly gets the diary. Maybe a work colleague gave him the diary for Christmas. New Year resolutions: become millionaire, tidy room, buy other slipper. Number 27 on the list, marriage. Here we have a notice from his landlord, Mrs. Wicket. Dear Mr. Bean, rent when I get home. And as you can see here, he is not very happy about that. And here we have a photo of his girlfriend in the series, and it appears that he is spying on her through the shelves at the library, and he's written at the bottom, Irma something. So clearly he did like her at this very early stage, and even spied on her through shelves at the library. Ring Irma Gob, and there's the library number there. 12:15, lunch in the park. 10 minutes later at 12:25, leave park, too much poo. Here we have an invitation sent by Mr. Bean to Irma Gob. Mr. Bean invites you to a party at the park. Near some toilets here. That is very typical of Mr. Bean. Bring a sandwich too if you're fat. Oh my goodness. Ring Irma Gob, and then on this day it just says ring Gob. Get Gob. I wonder what he means by get. Irma Gob has got a job in a busy library. She does. It's hard to read that. But anyway, it's a little poem written by Mr. Bean about Irma Gob. Take Irma Gob to pictures. It's Gob. Oh dear me. I wonder if Mr. Bean really did ring her on all of these times. Roses are red, violets are blue. You were Miss Gob and I was Mr. True. So this is around Valentine's Day of this year, 1993. And we have some blank pages. can see he is very happy about that. It says, hip hip, hooray, hip hip, ha ha, yippee yippee, pippy pippy. Oh, he really was funny, Mr. Bean. And here we have a note written to Mr. Bean by one of his neighbours, and it says, "Dear Mr. Bean, we haven't yet met, but I have just moved into number 3 down the hall. Enclosed is your diary, which I found today by the bus in the park." Or maybe that says porch. "I would very much like to call to make your acquaintance and perhaps to pick up the reward you mentioned on the first page." Man in number 3. And Mr. Bean has written "shut up" across it. So as I imagined, he did look for a way to avoid paying the reward. And it simply says, "Avoid man in number 3. Oh dear. Looks like we've got some sort of coffee stain here on his diary. And it still says, "Avoid man in number 3. Here we have a drawing of some sort of fly swatting invention Mr. Bean has created. And he's called it the fly plow, and even copyrighted it. PM, ring grandma. Wow, so Mr. Bean had a granny, which she was not featured on the TV show. Wow. Granddad is 90th birthday. Quite amazing, really. So he did have a granddad alive at this time as well, and that was not known on the show either. So he had two of his grandparents were alive. Until the raffle, so he's entered a raffle competition here, and he's very excited about it. And if he wins, he's looking to go to a tropical island. Here he has taken some pictures of himself in a photo booth. And in classic Mr. Bean, he's facing the wrong way. Looks like Mr. Bean is going on holiday. Buy holiday socks. Mosquito stuff. Film, crocodile knife, snake grease, and a spoon. He believes that he's going on a rocket, apparently, and will be blasting off. Looks like he's maybe lost his raffle ticket. Here we have another message from the man in number 3. "Dear Mr. Bean, a parcel arrived for you while you were out. I have it with me." And then he goes to try to pick it up, and it says the man was out. Try later. 2:10, no man. 4:42, no man. Mr. Bean, I know you have been knocking on my door, but I have been ignoring you because there is no parcel. April Fool. Man in number 3. So So, dropping the mug makes Mr. Bean very cross. Looks as though we've had a little mouse has walked across Mr. Bean's diary. Dear Mr. Bean, milk bottles are frequently stolen from outside my door. Can you throw any light on the matter? You must be really stupid. I imagine it was probably Mr. Bean stealing the milk bottles. Yabba dabba dabba doo. Here we have a signed photo to Mr. Bean from Shirley Bassey. And I believe that says to Mr. Boone. More feuds with the man in number 3. Here we have a very interesting drawing by Mr. Bean of a contraption designed to punch the poor Mr. Man in number 3, and he's very excited about that, as it says here, tee. And here Mr. Bean is very excited about it being Friday. I think, as most of us are, when we get to the weekend. And here we have another drawing by Mr. Bean, again looking to cause harm to the man in number 3. He's got some spikes laid outside of his door and a carrot dangling, which is a bit random. Does he believe the man number 3 is a rabbit? Once again, ring Ermagob. He must forget to ring his long-suffering girlfriend a lot. Damn. Once again we have this mouse prints. These little mouse prints going across Mr. Bean's beloved diary. And he's written a poem here. Attention mice, you'd better watch out. 'Cause if I see you about, you're going to end up in my mincer. There's no mucking about. I'll scrape you all out and do the same thing to your sister. 7:30 poetry class. And here's a mousetrap designed by Mr. Bean, again with the trademark symbol. We have a chest of drawers leaning on the edge of a seat and some cheese below it. I feel really bad for this poor, innocent little mouse. Buy fish, leave out all day, on Friday and Saturday, and then pop it through the letterbox for the man in number 3. And here we have a housefly trap, again designed by Mr. Bean and copyrighted. So he did like to design wacky contraptions. Mr. Bean's terrapin died, and he was named Terry. And he's written a religious little part here. Oh, that's very sad. Oh no. And on this page. Mr. Bean has got a nosebleed. And there are some droplets of his blood on his diary. Or perhaps it's from giving blood. It's not made clear, but there's some of Mr. Bean's blood anyway. Oh dear. And here we have a Daddy Longlegs. It looks like that is sadly been squashed. But knowing Mr. Bean, he probably did it himself by slamming the book together. Here we have a photo of Irma Cobb, once again through the shelves of the library. It looks as though she's probably trying to ignore him. And it says, Angry Irma. Oh dear. Again, we have another bug that Mr. Bean has cruelly squashed in his diary. He really wasn't a fan of insects. Ring Irma Cobb, and then he's answered it himself. No, can't be bothered. Here we have some photos of Mr. Bean doing some maintenance on his car. And this is the famous Mini that he drives in the TV show. So he's doing some maintenance on the car himself and ended up with very dirty hands, etc. Ask Cobb to Pictures, 810 horror film, and this actually featured on one of the episodes of the TV show, which showed Mr. Bean and his long-suffering girlfriend Irma going to see a horror movie at the cinema. Oh no! He has squashed a butterfly on this page. That is absolutely terrible of him. And it looks as though Mr. Bean watched The Exorcist on video and is now quite scared, and he's telling himself to pull myself together, he says here. And as you can see, it hasn't worked because he has boarded up his door. New security arrangements. And Monday the 2nd of August, he is feeling much better today. So it didn't take him too long to get over the scary movie. Do I like golf? No. Mr. Bean was never really shown to be that interested in any sports, although there is an episode where he does play mini golf. So perhaps he doesn't like the proper game of golf, but he does enjoy a game of mini golf, and that was a very funny episode. looks like Mr. Bean has got some of his dinner on this piece. Maybe it looks like it might be peas or something like that. And it says here he has a sore throat on this day. So he must have had a cold. Maybe that isn't peas, maybe that's something else. Oh dear. He really did like to design wacky contraptions, but most of them were fairly useless and have no real practical value. And here we have another note from the man in number 3, which we haven't heard of for a little while. And it says, Mr. Bean, I have not slept for 3 nights. If the banging does not stop, I will call the police. And Mr. Bean replies, oh, go away and sit on a cabbage for the rest of your life. So as you can see, Mr. Bean really did not care for other people or what they thought. He very much did as he pleased. Here's another sketch by Mr. Bean. It shows his mini flying, and it has a knife here attached and a big ball of dung filled in a duvet. Must be because of the dog doing poops. He didn't like dog poop, which we seen earlier in the diary. Here's a newspaper cutting about Mr. Bean and something that he's done. It says, a highwayman's attempt to put the world to rights was foiled after police received a tip-off that a lime green Mini was about to be launched from the roof of W.H. Smith. The owner of the car and Mr. Bean of Arbor Road, Highbury, was first spotted by pedestrians on the street below, who alerted the police. So he really was going to attempt to do this. Oh my goodness. Police station, further questioning. And the man in number 3, once again, has left him a note that says, Dear Mr. Bean, I don't believe your car was stolen at all. I saw the horse dung on the drive, and I think you are completely mad. Oh, we really did not like the man in number 3. But interesting enough, the man in number 3 does not feature on the TV show. Here's some photo ID for the London transport system. And once again, Mr. Bean is not facing the right way in the photo booth. And he has to get the bus at this point. Perhaps he's been banned from driving for his stunt of trying to launch the car off the roof of a W.H. Smith store. Here we have another note from the man in number 3. Dear Mr. Bean, some idiot keeps ringing my doorbell and running away. Is it you? And Mr. Bean has wrote, says here he gets his car returned on Tuesday the 19th of October. But for all Mr. Bean's faults, he was very good at doing fun sketches in his diary. And there was an episode of the TV show where he does attempt to draw some art at an art class with some very funny results. Looks as though Mr. Bean had some trouble with a gas man. I'm not sure if Mr. Bean had any real friends. There was an episode of the TV show when he has two men over to his apartment for the New Year. And I think they may have been work colleagues, but they put the time on the clock forward to midnight sooner than it was, just so they could escape from Mr. Bean's apartment. And as you can see here, Mr. Bean has locked up all the smokers in the world in this large box, and he has connected it to the exhaust of his car. Common sense. Hi, diary, police calling round. Toast recipe: burn bread and eat. So Mr. Bean liked his toast burnt. And here we have a response from the Shirley Bassey Entertainments Company. And it says, "Dear Mr. Bean, thank you for your recent letter to Miss Bassey. I'm sorry I've been so late in replying. I am sorry to say that the vocal microphones used by Miss Bassey during her performances are extremely expensive items, and it would be impossible to send them as souvenirs to fans who request them. Enclosed is a signed photograph as partial compensation." Right again. So he's basically not taking no for an answer. He wants to own one of Shirley Bassey's singing microphones. And here Mr. Bean has drawn some footsteps, having a walk around his diary. Maybe he prefers to do that than take actual exercise. And here's another response from the Shirley Bassey Entertainments Company. And it says, "Dear Mr. Bean, I acknowledge receipt of your letter of the 17th of July. I understand that we misread the request in your last letter and that there was no grammatical error. Your request was to be one of Mrs. Bassey's microphones rather than to possess one. I should warn you that in accordance with the policy of this office, your letter has been passed to the police." My goodness. So Mr. Bean in this diary had a lot of trouble with the law. And here we have a photo of a cute dog called Kipper. And Mrs. Wicket, who is his landlord, wants Mr. Bean to look after Kipper. And it says, "Please look after Kipper. He is very sensitive and needs feeding every day." And it says 25 days to Christmas. This is where Mrs. Wicket returns from Bournemouth. Madame Sandra. Not sure exactly who this is. Made contact with Mum. Perhaps this is Mr. Bean's mum. She wasn't featured on the TV show. 1 p.m. crisps. 2 weeks to Grizzy. He's very excited. This is what Mr. Bean is asking Santa for Christmas. A new mother. Oh dear. Buy new TV, plus radio times, TV quick. December, post letter to Santa. Well, I think he's leaving it a little bit late to post his letter. My present. A hook and 2 nails. Or screws, rather. I don't like Christmas very much, if I had to be honest. And the Christmas episode of the TV show is very funny. And I love to watch that at Christmas time. It's always good for nostalgia purposes. It takes me back to my childhood. And here we have another note from the man in number 3. Dear Mr. Bean, would you like to pop round for a New Year drink sometime? Martin Davis, man in number 3. So we got the name revealed of the man in number 3, and it is Martin Davis.